Hello, welcome to Vlogmas, day 22. If I can get out of here. Any more rogue pieces? No. Okay, so I have another topic that might be seriously controversial. It's actually, those are not together. It's actually controversial on the level of the first video that I ever put on this channel, as far as just something out there that nobody's ever said before. But you know what? The reason that my first video has comparatively so many views is because it was featured without my permission or advance knowledge or anything like that. I just found it randomly on the American Psychiatric Association's website. So I would say that's some legitimacy there. I mean, the official professional site that they thought something is in sort of maybe so better. I hope that doesn't make you sick when I move it around. I never even thought that maybe it would. Because there are other people that make videos and they're just like jiggling it all over the place. It absolutely makes me sick. Anyway, so prepare yourself. Here, I'm going to talk about something that probably anybody who's been to school and is basing what they think they're telling their clients and patients on based on what they learned, things like that CBT is the treatment to do if you have avoidant personality disorder, when in fact it's like just about the worst thing that somebody can do if they have avoidant personality disorder. It's right on that level. It's going to drive people crazy. I'm going to talk about something that I'm going to call non-maladaptive catastrophic thinking. And probably a good lot of you are going, what? What is that? How? What? Because generally, catastrophic thinking is some pretty bad stuff. Generally, how it works is you start to do something and anxiety takes over, and you think of X, Y, and Z horrible scenario that could be happening, and you get to the point where you just, have no sort of grasp on reality whatsoever, and think that whatever this crazy, outrageous version that you've come up with, that must be accurate and true. And so then you have this cycle of anxiety where it just gets worse and worse and worse, because you basically believe your impulsive thought that some terrible thing that's happening is actually going to definitely happen, and on and on and on from there, which does sound pretty horrible, to say the least. That I do not believe at all that that's the only way it works. And so prepare for controversy. I think that there's other ways that people can have catastrophic thinking that is actually truly beneficial. And here's what it is. See, generally what happens is, supposedly, I don't know, see, because the description of how it works for other people, it just doesn't resonate at all with me. It's like, what are you talking about? There's nothing about it that makes sense to me the way that it's described. That you suddenly start dwelling on things that are going on, and then you supersede reality with your thoughts. I'm like, what? How? And that's not how it works for me. It's actually the complete opposite is how it works for me. And I mean, I would actually go as far as to say, in my mind, the people who've come up with their ideas about what is going on, I mean, it's so completely out of touch from my experience that it's almost like, that they made it up. Like they were like, okay, let's look at this thing on paper. It looks like it actually goes. Nope. These reindeer one are hard. See, like that one might not be actually how it goes. I'm beating around the bush, as usual, with this description. So how about I get at it? When I say that somebody who, see, I don't think that goes there. When I say that somebody has a maladaptive, like, I mean, when I mean it when I say that I think it's complete opposite of what the description is. I think that what happens in my case, and maybe other people's cases, this one's hard, is that instead of they start thinking of how things are not going to work out and it's getting worse and worse and worse in their head, and then they come up with all these crazy, outrageous ideas of what might happen, and then they get anxious about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because for me, what happens is I start by feeling anxiety about something. And so it's not something that I'm even really recognizing as anxiety. Instead, what's happening is, basically I have a physical reaction, and I'm getting more and more anxious. And I'll recognize that I'm getting anxious sort of, you know, before I've thought of anything else, that something is happening where, I'm having like a fight or flight response. And so I am reacting with anxiety to whatever it is that is occurring in the world. And then that's when I start the catastrophizing. It is the opposite of what they describe. It's after after I've recognized that I am having an anxious response. So that's probably super weird to a lot of people. I'm expecting blowback because whenever I do talk about something that's like opposite of somebody else's, personal experience, they're like, no, that's not how it's done. I'm like, well, this is how it's done for me. Okay. So, once I've had, recognize that I'm having a super anxious response to something out in the world, whatever it is, that's when I start doing catastrophic thinking, which is also, you could call it like looking at the worst case scenarios of whatever. And I do it very actively on purpose because what I'm doing is going through scenarios to see basically if there's any validity to it at all. And I'm checking through the list of what could possibly be happening and trying to see, okay. Oh, now I should come up with an example. Okay. For instance, let's say, because I use the same example for everything, basically, let's say shopping. I'm going to go shopping for whatever, for food at the grocery store. That's the example I use for everything. May as well be consistent, right? So I'm going to go grocery shopping, and suddenly I'm feeling very anxious about it. And there's not a reason for it. I'm just suddenly reacting with anxiety toward the idea of doing something like grocery shopping. Okay. Once I recognized that I am having that reaction, that I'm feeling all the stress reaction in my body, or whatever you want to call it, that this is so weird, this puzzle. My heart rate is going up. I might like feel my body temperature rising. I mean, all the classic reaction that anybody has when they're having not quite a panic attack. I mean, it's possible that you could get to that level that you're having a panic attack right off the bat, but probably not. But definitely having some sort of reaction. Okay? There it is, having the reaction. Oh my goodness. That's the point where I would start to go through the scenarios of what exactly might happen when I'm in whatever scenario that I need to go. Like I'm going grocery shopping and, come up with whatever the crazy thing is that I could possibly have to deal with when grocery shopping. That maybe this random person's going to come and talk to me. Oh my God, right? Something like that. I mean, I'm sort of making light of it, but it's pretty bad if that happens to you while you're out trying to, mind your own business and somebody comes along and messes with your life. I mean, the way I'm saying that is sort of like flippant and overreactive, but seriously, that type of anxiety could keep you from literally ever attempting to go grocery shopping for real. I acknowledge that can really mess you up. Okay. So then what I do is, very literally, when I feel like I'm having this reaction, is go through it in my mind. Okay, so what would be the worst thing that could happen? This person would come and talk to you. Oh my goodness. And it would cause major stress. Oh my goodness. And then this is how you would react. You would react like this and you would react like that. And, I'm saying that again. It probably sounds like I'm being flippant. It's because I'm not in the situation right now. So I'm not actually being reactive to it. So it's kind of okay for me right now because I'm not doing it. So I can sort of go through it in my head really quickly without having it mess me up too bad. I hope that makes sense. I know that sometimes I can run through these scenarios that would be really traumatic, and I'm not saying that lightly either to people. But it doesn't really bother me that much because I'm not, doing that right now. I'm not out there in the world right now. Okay, those go together. It must be higher. Still. Now, this is completely opposite of what sort of people have been told is how we do the catastrophic thinking, how we react to it. That's just not how it's done. It's done the other way. So what would be the point? What would be the goal if we had a different sort of catastrophic thinking? See the outfit together. It's annoying. This is the one that's wrong. How does that work? How I think it works is that then we can look at whatever the terrible scenario is whatever the crazy thing that comes up in our head. And I can't believe I'm the only one that does this. So this is why I'm putting this out there. So you have this outrageous idea of, oh my goodness, this is going to happen and this is going to happen and everything's going to be chaotic and terrible and etc. And then it's like, okay, if that happens, then what? Can you handle it? Can you handle whatever the terrible thought is that popped into your head? Can you get through that? And generally, the answer is yes. And so then you get this kind of sense of relief because, okay, that's the worst you can throw at me, and I can handle it. And it will be okay. So I'm sure that sounds really weird, but that's the crux of non-maladaptive catastrophic thinking. Is it becomes a tool that you can use to basically get yourself through whatever the anxiety and the panic that you're already having. You can sort of like preview whatever that awful idea is that you came up with, and you can discount it immediately and say, okay, this is my terrible thought that of what it could possibly be. I'm being anxious about this thing. What is the worst case that I would have to deal with? And then boom, well, guess what? I can handle that. I can get through that. That would be okay. It would not be pleasant, but that would be okay for me to get through that. Okay. Okay. Can get through that. That is how it works. You get through it, and then that means that anything less than that, you can also get through. Okay. Basically, you can handle all the things that are absolutely terrifying to you. You can handle them. You can do it. Right? And you've already sort of figured out exactly what would be the worst that you might have to encounter. You've already got it sorted. You know. You know what is the worst that you would have to deal with, and you know that whatever that is, you would be able to survive it. There you go. That's the point. And from that point, see, generally, when you have normal catastrophic thinking, the maladaptive catastrophic thinking, then the more you think about it, the worse you feel. It makes everything just horrible and terrible. And you almost can't function because you're just completely overwhelmed by whatever this terrible thought you had is. It just takes everything over. And again, you start believing whatever crazy thought you came up with, that, oh, I'm going to go there and basically it's going to be the end of everything, that my life, by making this one decision, everything from then on is going to be altered and worse than where I'm at right now. This is, that, there you go. That's catastrophic thinking. It has nothing to do with reality, right? That doesn't look right. So that's what normal maladaptive catastrophic thinking is. But non-catastrophic thinking, it's the opposite. You don't feel worse. You actually feel much, much better. Because first of all, you have sort of pre-thought out what the worst case could possibly be and realized that you could and would survive it. Additionally, the other thing that's kind of amazing about it is that, oh, something is way out. This one. The other thing that you could realize is that it's sort of like you're practicing, which again, if this is normal, average, maladaptive, is that finally right? Thinking, then it would get worse and worse and worse as you're going. Until you are completely paralyzed with the fear. Which of course is useless. However, if you have non-maladaptive, something still looks wrong. This one. That's better. If you have non-maladaptive catastrophic thinking, then one, you realize that you would be able to handle whatever crazy scenario comes to you. And two, you have sort of practiced how to cope with worst case scenario situations that you might find yourself. I'm so glad I got done with this. This thing was crazy. It does look correct to me. I'll take another look at it. I think it's right. And so when you have non-maladaptive catastrophic thinking, it makes everything better for you. Now, other people who have higher levels of confidence and self-esteem than people with avoidant personality disorder, they can maybe just, roll into a situation and cope with new scenarios on the fly. And they're just able to do that. Okay, good for them. People with avoidant personality disorder do not have the self-esteem to be able to adapt that quickly on their own. So sort of having the practice ahead of time to cope with these situations is what gives you the confidence. It's completely opposite. But again, that is sort of like the difference between a maladaptive and non-maladaptive, or I don't know if they actually call it adaptive, but whatever. I haven't been to school, and I'm coming up with a crazy idea that I'm telling you would be shot down by every single therapist because this is so bonkers and crazy. That's why I say it's equal in theory to the one that was in my original video. That yeah, that on the surface just seems so wrong. When you have a maladaptive coping technique, it keeps you stilted. It keeps you unable to go forward. It feels comforting, but it actually holds you back and actually makes you feel worse. When you have a non-maladaptive coping technique, it does give you a little bit of support and structure, and it also lets you expand your life, do the things you want to do. And instead of being stuck wherever you're at. So, this is a weird concept, something that most of the world would consider to be just a terrible thing. And when it's first hitting you, it isn't that much fun, and part of the reason is because you're already anxious. You're already anxious, anticipating what's going on, and then you have these what look like a maladaptive coping techniques of worst case scenario. But you turn it all inside out. Now, I mean, if what you're doing is you're getting completely caught up in the catastrophic thinking and scenarios, using that to keep yourself from participating in life, you can't give the thoughts up. They're just eating away at you, and they're there all the time. That's when they're maladaptive. They're non-maladaptive if you're using them as a tool in order to go forward in your life. As weird as it is, that just is the way it is. Sometimes doing things that everybody else would think is bizarre and wrong and just the weirdest thing ever. And how does that even work? It's because they can't think like you. They don't have the same experience, life experience that you have. They don't have the limitations that you put on yourself. That you put yourself in this little box. That's what it is, and it sort of limits more or less all the choices that you make in your life, right? And by doing that, you are protecting yourself. Okay. However, that little box, all those walls that you've made for yourself, can really stifle your life and keep you from going forward and keep you from getting the things that you need. And it's really scary to look past those walls to what's going on out there in the world, especially if you've never experienced anything outside your box, at least for a really long time, and probably haven't experienced anything beyond the walls that you've created, then, without being abused, unfortunately. That's really real, You go outside those walls, bad things happen. Well, guess what? Sometimes those bad things aren't as limiting as you think they are. The bad thing is, oh my God, if I go grocery shopping, somebody might talk to me. Okay, that's pretty bad, but why? They might say something and then I can't think of the right answer, and it's really awkward and everything else. Well, guess what? It's not like somebody has got a camera in your face like me, and they're recording it. I mean, it might feel that way. You might remind yourself of it for a while, but other people, it might be awkward, but they've got 100 other people they're going to interact with that day. And you're talking about 2 seconds. They're going to forget about it almost immediately. So, okay, you're not going to like ruin your reputation. The other part is that you might think about things and beat yourself up for it forever. Okay, well that is something that happens very frequently when you have avoidant personality disorder. You do something, it feels awkward and weird, and you just can't forgive yourself for it. Okay. So, practice it. Practice it a little bit. Either, if you're going to go grocery shopping, have a very solid list ahead of time. Figure out where you're going. Get in and out as quickly as possible, so that you're not being around people. Go in there, that, because they, like, I don't know, around here online, they'll say, how busy is it expected to be? So go when it's a less busy time. Less people, less awkward encounters. In theory. That sort of thing. So the process of prepping like that, even though it feels like you're giving in to, because you sort of are, your anxiety, it is also like literally empowering you. You're doing something to make it less terrible. I mean, that's weird. Other people don't have to do that. Although they kind of do. I mean, what are the rates of people that go to gym, workouts with earbuds in? Pretty damn high. And really, do they really need to listen to music in order to get their workouts done? No. By far. They're probably trying to avoid talking to people, and so they can concentrate on their workout and not have to interact with people. That is the general populace. That's everybody. So other people do it too. They just don't like second guess it and question every motivation that they have and self-analyze. So yeah, that's I'm sort of going off on tangents because I'm sort of giving examples, but really truly that's how something that most people would think of as maladaptive actually becomes a tool, a very effective tool, and becomes non-maladaptive. Is you use it in order to knock down your anxiety and to keep your anxiety in check. So if you're doing this worst case scenario thing and it makes you more and more and more anxious, that is maladaptive. Work on stopping that. And that's a completely different video, and I'm not going to go into that now. Therapy would help. But if you get anxious about something and you do a worst case scenario and then you go, okay, could I handle that? If that worst thing happened, could I get through that? Let's look at my past. Have I done something like that in the past? Did it maybe knocked me down for a day, but I got back up again? Could I handle it? Yes. And if you use it to empower yourself to do whatever you're doing, because you can handle it, as bad as it could, it's probably not going to be as bad as you come up with, but if the worst thing you come up with, you can handle that, then you can handle everything, right? If you use that to empower yourself and to knock the anxiety back and to then go forward with whatever you're trying to do, that is non-maladaptive. And so the next thing is, if you say go to therapy or anything like that, and the therapist does this knee-jerk reaction of, oh, you're doing catastrophic thinking, you need to stop that right now, never do that again, then you can stick up for yourself. I know this is almost impossible, but you can. Even if you don't do it out loud verbally to the person, you can do it with yourself. You can keep it to yourself and just be like, okay, therapist, sure, whatever you say, but keep doing it and stick up for yourself and know that this is a technique that is working for you again, but keep testing and see how it affects you. If it makes your anxiety go up, then yeah, listen to the therapist and work on trying to not do that anymore. But if it keeps your anxiety to lower, keeps you keeping it down, keeping it in check, and makes it lower and emboldens you to realize that you did this in the past, you could do it in the future, even if it probably won't happen, but if it does, I can deal. If that happens, then you don't need to get rid of this. This is non-maladaptive. And oh, here comes the cat. He's gonna go up to the puzzle. Anyway, I'm repeating myself. I'm probably gonna remake this video at some point because it was really goofy because I was doing the puzzle in the beginning, and it's something that I should probably like have outlined and made much more succinctly because I think this is an important idea. And I'm guaranteed that you've never seen it before, never heard the concept, because what? Using a thing that's considered so terrible and horrible and you must purge it from your life and using that as a tool to make your life better? What? That can't happen. It can happen. Might be rare, might be specific cases, it might not be a generalized thing, but guess what? Avoidant personality disorder is not as rare as you think, but it's not the average by any means also. And so advice you get from therapists that are just the average knee-jerk thing, it doesn't quite work. So don't just go, oh my goodness, I'm doing this thing, and you know, the general consensus is it's a terrible thing. If it works for you, it's not a terrible thing. But again, keep testing. Keep double checking. How are you reacting to it? Because you can go from the one where it's a non-maladaptive and slip into a place where it is maladaptive and it is messing up your life. And the only way to make sure that it doesn't like become obsessive thoughts and causes more anxiety and causes you to be anxious about something that isn't even happening to you right now, and you're not even sure if it's ever going to happen in the future, or some scenario that, you know, like, okay, what if I try to go buy a car and I get totally fleeced and my credit rating tanks and blah blah. You know what? When are you going to buy a car? You don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? So if you are worrying about it, that's the test. That's how you see, you know, how much is it actually relating to your life? Is it making things better or worse? If it's better, then that's okay, no matter what people say. If it's making yourself better, if it's emboldening you, if it's allowing you to not stay in the box that your avoidant personality disorder has dictated to you, but is allowing you to make these life changes that you want to make, it's cool. I mean, like for instance, the one that would probably actually truly come up more often, where it would be a really, you know, something you might have to deal with, is trying to date somebody, you know, that it might not work out. Okay, well, have you ever had a situation where you had a friend or a colleague or whatever, and it didn't work out, and didn't you wake up the next day and keep going? It might have sucked, you might have felt bad, you might have missed them, but you're still here, so you would survive it. The rejection is horrible, it's hideous, rejection is still not as bad as being judged, but even if you are judged, it happened once before. in some capacity of your life. You know, in school you had a test or something, right? You've been judged before. You're still alive. You got through it. So you're gonna meet somebody and maybe they won't like you. And you know what? You're gonna live through that. It will suck. It will not feel nice. But it's not gonna kill you. So, and it might work out. So, so that would be the type of situation. If you're thinking, oh my God, it might not work out, I gotta stop. I can't even try because it might not work out and then it would suck so bad oh my God. If that's how you're thinking, you need to work on stopping that. But if you go, oh my God, it might not work out, that would so suck. I would feel so bad for like maybe even a month. I might feel bad, but then, I'll get used to it and it won't hurt so bad. Just like the last time. And then maybe I can, just like this time, get the energy up to try it again if that's the case. Okay. And it might really work out. And if that's what you're thinking, that is non-maladaptive catastrophic thinking. And, again, if you're using that as a tool to give you the motivation to say, I could get through this. And also, the other thing is I'll use that personally for traveling a lot. If I'm anxious about doing a certain thing, I'll be like, okay, well, what might happen? What might happen? And you know what? Actually, a lot of time, because it's not that often that I get anxious about traveling, what it usually means is I forgot to pack something really important that I needed to get. And it's like my subconscious is saying, hey, 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 there's something you haven't done yet. Hey, there's something you're missing. Hey. And so by going through a checklist with a catastrophic thinking of, well, what happens if this? What happens? Oh my God, I forgot to pack underwear. No wonder I'm anxious about going because this major thing I forgot to do. Yikes, let me take care of that real quick. Boom, anxiety gone. I know that sounds outrageous, but that sort of thing. That's like if I'm going to another country and I'm like, oh crap, I should have double checked. Did I need a visa? Did I need extra vaccinations? Did I need this or that or the other that I forgot to double check? My concern is, oh my God, I might go there and get sick. Maybe because I should have gotten some extra vaccines, maybe I need to go get those right now. In my case, it's pretty specific that's where that it comes up as. So, again, I use it as a tool. When I'm having a catastrophic set of thoughts, I use it as a tool. And the other thing I do, actually it was like this time last year, I think, that I had just finished doing my one and only karaoke thing. I'm sure I made the video, but it's ridiculous, about doing karaoke. And I really did the catastrophic thinking ahead of time. I'm like, okay, let's say I freak out. And I'm like, okay, would I get through that? You know what? Yes, I would, because I'm never going to see these people again. And I can always hide in my cabin, and it's only 2 days, and I will survive, even if I don't leave and don't even, don't get anything to drink for 2 days because I'm so mortified. You know what? I wouldn't die. It would suck, but then I would be out of there, and I'd be on a plane, and I would never see those people again. So I would survive it, and that's how I was able to do this thing that was horrifying to me, and people think it's ridiculous. It was so scary to me. It was not fun, and I did it by using, doing catastrophic thinking to come up with a worst case scenario, and would I be able to survive it? Yes, I would. And what steps might I take to make sure I could survive it. And I don't know. I think it can be a very useful tool. So don't listen to anybody that automatically dismisses and says this is not something that you should be doing in your life, because it might really work for you. Anyway, that's definitely enough. Yeah, and Vlogmas continues. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.